I now call to order the regular meeting of the Indianapolis Public Library Board of Trustees. Ms. Gilbert, please call the roll.
Mr. Biederman.
Present.
Dr. Murtada.
Present.
Dr. Payne.
Present.
Dr. Riolo.
Present.
Dr. White.
Present.
And Ms. Tribble.
Present.
You do have a quorum.
The chair recognizes a quorum. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. Welcome to the November meeting of the Indianapolis Public Library Board. My name is Hope Tribble, and I am president of the board. Tonight, our host branch is the Info Zone, our library branch that is located here inside the Children's Museum. I'd like to thank the entire Info Zone staff as well as the Children's Museum for making special accommodations for our meeting tonight here in the Museum Cafe. The Indianapolis Children's Museum is the largest children's museum in the world and frequently ranked among the best. It was named the top museum in the country by Parents.com this year. And NDPL is honored to be in such good company, and we're united in our shared mission of the joy of curiosity seeking. We will hear the branch manager's report in a moment, but I want to start tonight by sharing a few comments from actual library visitors about this branch on review sites. It's always wonderful to hear how our efforts are making a difference, and these comments capture the spirit of what we're striving for. One visitor, Stacy W., shared that while she was looking for a place to kill time between appointments, she found the Info Zone to be a perfect spot. She mentioned that the location's free parking and welcoming staff made it a great place to work, and she appreciated the vibrant atmosphere with both kids and adults coming in throughout her visit. Brittany S. echoed similar sentiments, praising the branch as a great indie literary resource and appreciating the helpful staff and the library's accessibility. She noted its charm and cozy 3,000 square foot space designed with kids in mind, along with the interactive elements and computers that make it such a valuable place. These reviews highlight the impact that we are having on the community and remind us of the great work that happens every day here and within all our locations. Thanksgiving is this week. It's a holiday that reminds us not only to get the greens ready, that's my job at Thanksgiving, but also to pause and reflect on what we're grateful for. I'm sure my four fellow board members join me in expressing our sincere gratitude to all NDPL staff and the important, enriching work that you do. I learn something new each month from the branch managers, the committee reports, the CEO reports, and the other reports that we hear at these meetings. So for all that our NDPL staff pours into the work of our public library, the passion and the empathy, the resourcefulness and courtesy, and the personal approach to service, all of which make meaningful impressions on everyone you encounter, we are really grateful. Thank you, NDPL staff. I also want to express my gratitude to my fellow board members. It's important to recognize and share that our board members are passionate and empathetic too. Board members work many hours in between these monthly meetings, reading reports, leading or participating in committee meetings, as well as visiting branches, attending library events, relaying library information to and answering questions from friends and neighbors, and spending time with library visitors and our employees. As we give thanks, we remember our amazing volunteers who work alongside us, motivated by their love and the mission of the Indianapolis Public Library. We are very thankful for our friends of the library, our donors who help to fund programs and other initiatives, and for the Library Foundation team, which coordinates and solicits those funds, and our friends. Can you all join me in a well-deserved round of applause for these incredible individuals and everyone else who make such an immeasurable impact on NDPL through their time, expertise, and resources? Thank you. With that, let's move forward with today's meeting. And I invite Ms. Stacy Terrell, Branch Manager of the Info Zone, to come forward and share her report. Thank you, Ms. Terrell. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Good.
So President Tribble, members of the Library Board, welcome to the InfoZone Branch Library. It's fitting that in our hosting of this month's board meeting, while the InfoZone itself, as you know, wasn't large enough to accommodate it, the Children's Museum was more than willing to work with us to ensure that we could meet here. This illustrates the amazing partnership that NDPL and the Children's Museum of Indianapolis have had for so long. And the InfoZone is the culmination of that partnership. We opened our doors to the public on December 13th, 2000, in our original location, which was inside the Children's Museum. And then we moved into our current space in 2009 in the Welcome Center when it was added. And it continues to be the only full-service library branch located in a museum. And next year, we will be commemorating our 25th anniversary, and we are already planning activities to celebrate throughout 2025. And then I will kind of give you a little bit of who we are and what we do here at the InfoZone. So as with any branch, the InfoZone is more than its four walls. Our team is small but mighty and consists of myself as branch manager, and then a few of our team is here tonight. We have Kyle, our circulation supervisor, and Elizabeth, our youth multimedia learning specialist, and Kat, our public services associate. We are also we have one part-time computer assistant and hourly library assistant, and we are excited that we have just filled a PSA position that was open, and they will be starting soon. And like with other small branches, we here at the InfoZone, we do wear many hats, but I am thankful to have a great team who provides a welcoming atmosphere for our visitors and make sure that our branch is warm and inviting, as some of the reviews have said. And so that's just kind of a sample of some of the things that we have going on. And then as far as who we serve the neighborhoods of Crown Hill, Highland Vicinity, Historic Meridian Park, Mapleton Fall Creek, Meridian Highland, and Historic Watson Park. As of 2020, our population that we serve is a little over 12,500 residents, and it's a diverse population by both race and age. And in fact, in crunching the numbers, I realized that over half of the population is age 34 or younger in this area, which absolutely ties into a lot of the work that we do with the schools in our area, especially IPS 60 Butler Lab and Heron Preparatory Academy, which opened up basically next door to us last year and services K through 6. And these neighborhoods all have a rich history in the city and are dedicated to serving their residents, as are we. Which kind of just brings us to how the InfoZone and our team members serve the neighborhood and its residents along with library users. We offer a variety of programs, and through October of this year, we have already provided 315 programs with a total attendance of 8,431 attendees. We do have currently around 14,557 current card holders and 9,070 active ones. One of our goals around library cards this year was something that we set in starting to work with Heron Preparatory Academy, and that was to have 100% of their students registered for library cards by the end of this school year. I can say we are well on our way, and we're at about 90% of the students registered with library cards. and our circulation rate for this year through September is up 12% over last year at this time. And I actually credit Elizabeth and Kat, who have done a phenomenal job of curating our displays and making sure they're innovative, diverse, and engaging. And we also have a love for trying new things. Our motto is, if it can be moved, then we can try something. So the only thing that doesn't move in the library is the service desk. So we like to try new things there. And then along with our partnership with the museum, we actually partner and provide outreach programs with a few other places such as Fathers and Families and the Center Township Trustees Office, among others. So pictured here, you'll see, is the bottom two are for the trustees' trunk or treat. We actually created a mystery around a stolen pizza, and then we decided to dress up as the characters in the mystery, so that way kids could solve the mystery when they came by for candy. So, and then last year, the museum apprentice program that is offered to teens through the museum, they always do a year-long project. And last year, they chose to create their own picture books about the museum that they wrote and illustrated by themselves. So our programming team, throughout that school year, we provided some programs around writing and then also just best practices on picture books. So the top right-hand corner is just you can see the books that they all created that we had on display at the Info Zone, because at the end of the year, once they had their books ready to go, and we did our own book launch party for them inside the Info Zone, and there was a red carpet outside in the Welcome Center for everyone to come. So that was just another fun activity that we get to do along with the Children's Museum, and kind of illustrates our partnership. And then the other one is over at Heron Prep, we worked with them to do a coding club for first graders last year. So that is a first grader working on a project that they were working on together. And then lastly, just to kind of illustrate a little bit more about our programmings and what makes us unique. And that is, of course, we do our programming with both Butler Lab and Heron Preparatory Academy during the school year, but then also during the summer, we work with Starpoint, which is the museum's summer camp, and Horizons, which is a summer camp through St. Richard's as well. And those programs that we do with the schools and summer camps, they have a twofold purpose, and we design them with intent. So we provide the students with access to the library, and most classes will check out books, so they're learning how to use the library along with that. And then a portion of the program will focus on literacy and reading in general. And then a companion piece to that is a digital or technology literacy component of the program. And so our programs have become very collaborative in that myself or Kat will work on the reading activity, and then Elizabeth will provide the digital activity or the technology one. So she is the only youth multimedia learning specialist outside of the Central branch, and she not only focuses on teaching students how to use the fundamentals of technologies, but uses design thinking as part of the learning process. And then we also work with the students to emphasize aspects such as play, social emotional learning, and then also just modeling failure. And then finally, to me, the most important thing that we are doing with these students is building a relationship so they know that the library is an accessible and inviting space for them. And we have seen a lot of evidence over the last year, especially with Heron Prep, because many of the students will visit the library with their families after school or on weekends, and are excited to show off what they call their library. And also have their families meet their librarians. And then a few weeks ago, it was a Tuesday morning, and as we were opening our doors for the day, we were greeted by a few excited Heron Prep sixth graders waiting to come in. They were actually here for a field trip to the museum, but they were waiting for us to open because they wanted to come into the info zone and look for some books. So, and then finally, I wanted to share just a letter that one of the 5th grade teachers from Heron Prep sent to us. It says, "Dear members of the Indianapolis Public Library Board, I wanted to take this opportunity to take a few moments to talk about the absolute wonder that is the Info Zone at the Children's Museum. The librarians led by Elizabeth have been absolutely amazing with the scholars at Heron Preparatory Academy. I have personally watched my 5th graders' excitement build when they are aware of the next time we will be visiting. I have watched scholars get excited about picking out and checking out books and excitedly read them. The things we have learned about during our visits have included everything from coding applications to discovering how databases work. The energy and enthusiasm brought to my scholars during their visits is astounding, and I couldn't be more thankful for the learning opportunities extended to each class. Each time we leave the Info Zone, my scholars always ask, when do we get to go back? Thank you for bringing new opportunities to my classroom. Ms. Wampler, 5th grade humanities." So that concludes my portion. So does anybody have any questions for me?
One question.
Yes.
Thank you so much for everything you're doing here. It's really wonderful. Who ate the pizza?
Who was it? It was me. Was it you? Your character ate the pizza? It was her character.
What was that character?
It was a wolf. A wolf. We all dressed up as different woodland animals. So.
Awesome. Dr. Payne?
Yeah, who would have thought all of this goes on? Thank you so much for this presentation, and congratulations on all you do. I would like to have the name of the person you said did the fundamentals of technology, because I need to come and see who does that. I'm serious.
So that's Elizabeth. She's our youth multimedia learning specialist.
Well, youth, it'll be.
She also ate the pizza.
And one more thing. When I first came in this evening, I asked you if you had any activities for autistic children, because I have a young 5-year-old who'll be visiting over Thanksgiving, and I want to bring him to the Info Zone, and you said yes. So thank you for that, too. I'll let you know when we're coming.
All right. Sounds
All
good.
right.
Dr. Murtada?
Just a quick one. You noted fathers and families. What kind of things are you doing with fathers and families?
Sure. So they usually have like a class that lasts for like, I think 6 to 8 weeks of a group of fathers that they're working with. So they'll do like job training and other things. And so they'll have like a resource fair. And so we'll go over there. And I make sure they all have library cards, talk to them just about the benefits of literacy, especially with their children, and give some tips on that. And then lately, we've made sure, as much as it is important to highlight, the literacy for their children, and we provide books through one of our CAPs that we do as well, I also just make a point to talk about what's available for them as far as resources. So if there's like job fairs happening, using things like our LinkedIn Learning and some of our other resources online as well, I make sure they're aware of that.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Mr. Hill?
First, I want to say thank you for the work that you do, you and your staff. I received several emails regarding your staff and the work you do here. Just a couple of things here. One of them was they talked about you being a huge asset to the community, the dedication of your staff, and they wanted to give a heartfelt gratitude of support for the partnership that you have with them, and that was from Heron Prep and the Children's Museum staff. So on behalf of the Board of Trustees, thank you for your work.
Well, thank you. And my team will know that I like to say things don't happen in a vacuum. And so obviously what we do doesn't happen in a vacuum. So we have the support of the library and the foundation and the board, and everyone helps us do that. And of course, I am very thankful to have an amazing team who puts their heart and soul into this. So thank you.
Dr. Riolo?
And don't belittle the importance of hearing some of these accolades, and for the users to say that they're so impressed with your work and that they value it so much. I mean, give yourself some time to bask in that pride.
Thank you.
Any other comments? I also want to say I have been told repeatedly that my home branch is College Avenue, but this is actually my home branch. I live in historic Meridian Park, so 4 blocks away, and I think it's awesome to also see Dr. Payne was talking about when she was younger and going through the haunted house, and I remember what the Children's Museum looked like. It was like this little building in a big parking lot. And the idea that now it's a nationally highly ranked organization, and that we are playing on that same stage as the Indianapolis Public Library, and it's very exciting, and it is, like Dr. Riolo says, something to take time to soak in. So thank you for everything that you and all of the staff do here, and for representing us on the national stage too.
Yes. Well, thank you.
All right. If there's nothing else, thank you for your report. Appreciate it. Now we're going to hear an NDPL social work overview report. So I'm going to ask Ms. Danielle Cave, our social work manager, and Ms. Jamie Murphy, social worker, to come to the microphone and share your report. We are really pleased to welcome you, and we've heard a couple of reports about the social work of the library, and so are glad to get this most recent update. And welcome to the library. Right?
Yes, thank you. In the spirit of Thanksgiving, thank you for having us and allowing us to come and give this report, as well as thankful for the opportunity to have this position and to be working with the staff and patrons of the library. So thank you so much. Just wanted to give a brief overview of our department, and hopefully we can come back when we aren't so new to give a bigger update. I have been with the library for about 2 months, and I know this is Jamie Murphy. She's our new social worker here. Very excited to have her on staff. And so we are both very new to it, but have been able to hit the ground running to get some things done for the people that we serve. So we can go to the next slide. That's us. And next slide, please. So our initial observations just from coming in and starting the position, there are a lot of structures that were put in place. I do need to give credit to Yana McGraw for all of the work that she did prior to us being here to build connections, to put some structure in place for office hours. Some of those strong community partnerships. When I came in initially, one of the things that I wanted to do was to make connections with all of the community partners that I could find access to, that she had contact with. And so meeting a lot of those people and putting those faces with names, as well as trying to work to get things together for scheduling, making sure that we have all of our ducks in a row so that we're not missing anything. And that was my message, just wanting to make sure that we're taking the baton and going forward with it. So there is a very strong desire for services from patrons as well as staff. And so we've been very busy working with everyone in the library. And then also everyone is supportive, staff, foundation, board, definitely grateful. And so going forward, just continuing that need for safety and ongoing structure, kind of building some of those goals out, as well as seeing the things from an internal viewpoint. I used to work for the Department of Child Services, so some of the things that I've identified from interactions with patrons, just ways to make ourselves safe as well as the staff, and making those recommendations for sure. So excited to kind of put some of those things together, working with John, and as well as being in Central and working with Liz, and being able to just kind of make sure that we're not missing the mark anywhere. So I'll let Jamie give some observations as well.
So thank you again for having us. One of the observations that I have noticed with the patrons that come in to the library, some of the higher needs have been just requests for housing. And so those are some of the things that I've been looking at. Danielle's been very supportive in my role as we've been able to make contact with several providers and organizations throughout, actually around Central Library. And it's been helpful for me in terms of making those connections, because it does put a face with a name, and it helps me also to learn more about the organizations. I've been in social work for a number of years. I come from a background of counseling doing trauma, so making the switch from case management, it's been very rewarding, because you're actually able to help people get those needs met. And I think that it's very commendable of the library to see the need for the patrons. And I also think of the patrons as also part of our community. And so when we're able to connect the resources from other organizations and help our patrons that come into the library connect with the resources that are there. And so one of the things that I've seen in the 3 weeks that I've been there is just really the need for housing, also with employment. And so we've been really trying to work hard and connecting our clients or our patrons with the resources from the organizations that we have been connected to. And I'm thankful that also that I feel like the patrons that come, even especially those who are homeless, who may not have all the resources that they need, I feel like they are coming to the library because they feel like it is a safe place also for them. And so I'm excited about just the expansion of the social work department.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we spent, when initially I spent the first month just hitting the ground, going to different providers, actually going to their agencies and meeting them, also inviting them into the library to have those conversations as well. And that's been just, I would say, in the sense of building those connections, it's been more rewarding just to be able to say to someone, hey, I'm going to send a referral over for this. I want you to go check out this place. I've been there. This is what it looks like. This is what it smells like. These are the people that you're going to talk to, and to have those open connections. So going forward, we definitely want to make sure that we are maintaining and growing those connections with the partners within the community. So going forward, wanting to make sure that we are maintaining consistent office hours, and being available for appointments for referrals, as well as those that just walk in, wanting to make sure that we are as available as we can be, and also being able to track all of the data. One of the things that I know that we need is consistent data and numbers to say what we're doing, how much we are doing, when we're doing it, all of that, so that we can continue to grow this. I was speaking to someone the other day, and I was like, I'd love to have one social worker for every region of the map, and it would be great to be able to do that. So to be able to build the case for that would be fantastic, and to have that data behind us to say that this is what we are doing helps to push that forward. But then also going ahead and making those long-term goals for growth, and also being able how do we measure what we're doing? How do we measure our success? Are we being successful? So being able to have those conversations with John, and to have the ongoing feedback and room for growth and room for improvement. So looking at increasing those community partner interactions by 2% each year, but then also patron-facing services by 5% each year that we have. I think we'll blow it out of the water, because we've been so busy just starting off. So I think that, and all of this is what we're seeing just initially coming in. I think there's a lot of work to be done, and excited to do the work. So. And I will say that currently we are having office hours Mondays and Wednesdays from 10 to 12, and then from 1 to 3:30, trying to allow Jamie the ability to get kind of comfortable with the role and also with meeting people. There's an always revolving door, so we're even on the times that we are not in office hours, someone always needs something. And so being able to work with staff to say, hey, we may not be available because we're completing trainings or whatever that is, but here's how we can help and let's get the information. So we've done a lot of connecting with staff to say we may not be able to do it right now, but we will definitely follow up with that person later. We've brought people in for individual appointments. And so it's just, it's exciting to work. I don't come from a background of therapy. I come from a case management role, so I really get excited coming to work because I get to meet the needs and check off that checklist for those patrons. And so participating in the community resource fairs, being able to just see the needs that they have on paper. I've had a couple of patrons that have just shared just their initial gratitude for Yana, but also for the ability to have a social worker within the library and to be able to just express what they need in that moment, to not feel judged, but to also be able to get everything in one stop has been nice for them. So hopeful to continue that, and hopefully we can grow this department out. So thank you.
Great. Thank you so much for that. And in 60 days?
Yeah.
It's a quick assessment. Are there questions? Are there any questions? Well, hearing none, thank you to both of you, Ms. Cave and Ms. Murphy, for this report. And thanks for being off and running, and we'll look forward to hearing more as you continue down the road.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Our next agenda item is public comment. Is there anyone signed up?
Yes, we do have two. Before we start that, the public has been invited to the board meeting. We welcome feedback from the public about our Indianapolis libraries, and this is the time when the public may address the library board. If there are several individuals representing the same group, please select a spokesperson. Please do not repeat the same comment someone else has offered. Please note also that this public comment time is not the appropriate forum for commenting on matters related to employee charges, employee complaints, or alleged employee misconduct. Any such matters should be brought promptly to the attention of the CEO or the Human Resources Department, where matters can be properly addressed in compliance with established library policies and procedures. A 5-minute limit will be allowed for each speaker. Each speaker should give their name and if they are speaking on behalf of a group. Our first speaker is Teresa Skiersny. And then our next speaker will be Daneda Hoskins.
Good evening.
My name is Teresa, and I go here to do field trips, and I love the books that you have out for us to read.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's our youngest public speaker. Good job.
And our next speaker is Daneda Hoskins.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Daneda Hoskin, and I serve as the president of the Crown Hill Neighborhood Association. You heard that our neighborhood is one of the neighborhoods that work very closely and in collaboration with this amazing staff and the leadership by Stacy here in this area. I'm excited to share with anyone that the Children's Museum is within the boundaries of the Crown Hill community. And I'm very quick to point out it is inside of the Children's Museum, one of the best museums in the world, the largest children's museum actually in the entire world. And to have a library inside of these walls and where children should be able to come in and be children and enjoy being a child. And then the seniors, people like me who have lived some life, can come in and reminisce on being a child and read amazing stories. So I serve as the president of our neighborhood association. My family's been in this community since 1952. I'm happy to say I live on the very street on which I was born, and we still have my family's home. I am also the farmers market manager at North United Methodist Church, which is located just up the street at 38th and Meridian. And I also serve as community liaison. I share those with you not in a braggadocious perspective, but to simply share that I am truly engaged, and there are many in this community who are just like me. And I would be remiss if I didn't just share with you that we love our partnership with the InfoZone. Stacy and her team, they do an amazing job. They're always, and I wrote these down because I didn't want to not share them with you. They're engaged, they're active, and more importantly, they're accessible to all. I don't care what time of the day we reach out to Stacy, by phone, email, text, she is accessible and ready to share whatever the request is or how we can work together on a particular initiative or project. I know that you probably know that there is a neighborhood club that the Children's Museum has, and that's very important in our area because it allows people in this community to come to the Children's Museum free of cost and receive a lot of the services that the Children's Museum offers, but also what the InfoZone Library offers. And so I didn't come to take up a lot of time. I would have just not felt well walking out of here without letting you know how important the InfoZone Library is to this area. If I could ask for one thing, that is to share with you that we are in a digital divide in this community, and as we're sharing information with the residents in our community, we have to use the old grassroots efforts of going door to door. And so I would definitely appreciate if there's any way you can help us identify how to increase or bring a bandwidth to this area so that the residents in this community can be able to utilize the internet as we continue on in the new years. And I thank you for allowing me to speak this evening.
Thank you so much. That concludes our public comment section. We'll move on to approval of minutes. We have minutes from an executive session and a regular session. The minutes for the regular meeting of October 28th, 2024 have been shared with members. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
The minutes have been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call, please. Ms. Gilbert.
Mr. Biederman.
Approved.
Dr. Martada.
Approved.
Dr. Payne.
Approved.
Dr. Riolo.
Approved.
Dr. White.
Approved.
And Ms. Tribble.
Approved. The motion carries. We also have executive session minutes for the executive session meeting that was convened by the Diversity, Policy, and Human Resources Committee on October 31st, 2024. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. The minutes have been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Please call the roll, Ms. Gilbert.
Mr. Biederman.
Approved.
Dr. Martada.
Approved.
Dr. Payne.
Approved.
Dr. Riolo.
Approved.
Dr. White.
Approved.
And Ms. Tribble.
Approved. The motion carries. Moving on to the Finance Committee report. The Finance Committee is chaired by Dr. Patricia Payne, and members are Dr. Louise Palacio and Dr. Eugene White. Dr. Payne?
Lolita and Mary, please come forward.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Evening.
How are you?
Very well.
Good. Today, Mary and I will review the October Treasury Report. I will review the revenue, and Mary will review the expenditure. We're about 80% into our budget right now. So our revenue, we're at 65%, which is normal. During the month of November and December, we received the remaining of the funds. We're expected to receive $17 million in November and December. That's what we budgeted. So, and then for intergovernmental funds, we're consistent. However, in November, we should receive 1.6 million, and that is the big portion of intergovernmental funds, which will be the excess tax.
Excise.
Yeah, tax. And then charges for public services have received 35,000, and then our miscellaneous interest, we received $149,000 for the month, but we're at 1.5 million in interest. But as you can see, the Hoosier Fund is, and Trust Indiana is gradually lowering every month. So, and that is the trend that government has indicated. So we have budgeted for that in 2025. Here are the graphs for the revenue. So the gray is the budget, and it is much lower for the property taxes because typically we wouldn't have received anything in October, but for the last 2 months, the property tax that we typically receive on November 1st came October 31st. So that's why it's coded that way. And then the next graph is the year-to-date, and it shows that we're right in line with what we typically are at any other year. Any questions in regards to revenue? No. Next, we have the expenditures.
The personal services and benefits are favorable and under budget. Supplies are consistent and under budget. Other services and charges also favorable and under budget, and capital outlay is consistent with last year. Overall, all the total expenditures are under 83% combined, which at 74%, and 83% is the amount of the year that has gone by October 31st. The next is the graphs showing the expenses for the month by type in a graphical format, with the gray line, the gray bars being the budget for the year, and the blue being this October's month, and the orange last year's at this time. And then the line budget over to the right is the year-to-date totals by type. On that, the yellow is the budget. So it does show that we are under the budget, but a bit over last year's, but that's how we made the budget, so we're fine. Okay, any questions on expenditures?
Okay, thank you. Next on our list, we have Resolution 76-20. Oh,
That's okay.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Thank you for keeping us moving. I was supposed to jump in there. We need this. We've heard the report of the treasurer for October 2024 for filing for audit. Is there a motion to accept this report?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll. Ms. Gilbert.
Mr. Bitterman.
Approve.
Dr. Martada.
Approved.
Dr. Payne.
Approved.
Dr. Riolo.
Approved.
Dr. White.
Approved.
And Ms. Tribble.
Approved. The motion carries. Now back to you.
Thank you, President Tribble. I'd like to call up Deb Lambert to review this Resolution 75-2024.
Good evening.
Good evening, members of the board. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Very good. I'm Deb Lambert, Chief Collection Management Officer, and I'm here to present Resolution 75-2024 regarding our Overdrive e-magazines. This is part of our online collection. It's part of the Libby app that goes along with our ebooks and e-audiobooks. And it's a very popular service, which we're coming to you to request renewal for a total of $80,000. This is a suite of magazines of more than 5,000 titles, and in 2022 we had in 2024 year to date 222,000 issue checkouts, which is a 40% increase over 2023. Overdrive integrated it with their Libby app, which is what raised visibility and increased usage in the last year. And the selection of titles is very broad. There are a lot of titles and a lot of international titles as well in other languages. So the annual subscription is for a year, and it actually goes from January 1st to January 1st, 2025 to December of 2025. It's a full year, and on their invoice they had put December 14th through December 13th. I had them correct that, just so you know, it's January to December. It's free to any library user with the library card and the Libby app, or you can access it on a tablet or on a computer to read magazines. And it comes out of our regular operating budget for library materials. And we've renewed this for many years. And it comes out to about 43 cents per checkout, which is excellent compared to other resources that we cut off at $5 per use or more. So it's well under our requirements.
So we've heard Resolution 75, 2024, regarding the approval of Overdrive Libby e-magazine subscription renewal. And this resolution received a positive recommendation from the Finance Committee, so the chair would request a second.
Second.
Is there any discussion or are there any questions? Okay, hearing none, we'll call the roll, please.
Mr. Biederman.
Approved.
Dr. Matada.
Approved.
Dr. Payne.
Approved.
Dr. Riolo.
Approved.
Dr. White.
Approved.
And Ms. Tribble.
Approved, the motion carries. Thank you, Deb.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deb.
Next on the agenda is Resolution 76-2024, is transfer between classifications of accounts. This transfer is from operating from the appointed salaries to the other contractual services. This is coming for the shared services for the amount of $8,750. This is to cover the IPS replacement worker that was an outsourced contractual person without benefits. So this person is going to be contracted within the library because the other person was able to find a permanent job here at the library because this was only a contract position. So the sheriff system was able to find a person, I think, yes, to cover this, the position. And this is until the end of this year only. So there should be $8,750 to transfer without benefits for this position.
Okay. Heard Resolution 76, 2024, regarding the approval of transfer between classifications and accounts, which also received a positive recommendation from the Finance Committee. So the chair would request a second.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Dr. Payne, did you have anything you wanted to say? Dr. Payne?
I'm sorry.
Were you going to say something?
No.
Okay. Dr. McConnell?
Just a quick question. What was the responsibility of the person?
Ms. Sarah, I don't work in that position.
John's ready.
Shared system position. So to help facilitate bringing schools into the shared system, processing books into their collections, art collections, creating library cards, things of that nature.
I'm familiar with the shared system. I just didn't know what that particular position was for.
Any further questions? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Mr. Biederman.
Approved.
Dr. Bertada.
Approved.
Dr. Payne.
Approved.
Dr. Riolo.
Approved.
Dr. White.
Approved.
And Ms. Tribble.
Approved, the motion carries.
Thank you. The next resolution is Resolution 77-2024. This is an amendment and reauthorization for the investment policy. We reviewed this policy back in October 2024 with Resolution 57-2024. This is amendment to this resolution because it has the treasurer as one and the same person. So the resolution will show the red line version as well as the clean version behind the resolution. So some of the change of language would be stating that the treasurer would be now the treasurer with the assistance of the chief, CFO as the director of the treasurer, because based on the state statute that the treasurer has to do these certain jobs. So I just noticed that when we was reviewing our policy that this had to change. So there's several, maybe two or three things in here that we had to change in as far as that language, but the one on the last page, it also said fiscal officer, so we changed that language to treasurer. So I think that is the gist of that amendment of this policy.
Okay. So we've heard Resolution 77, 2024 regarding the investment policy renewal, and that resolution also received a positive recommendation from the Finance Committee, so the chair would request a second.
Second.
Are there any questions? Any discussions?
There's one more thing I want to say about this policy. This is to be reviewed every 4 years, but so the next time we review it again, it will be in 2028 unless there is some additional language revision that needs to be completed.
Okay, great. So this is part of looking at all of our policies and procedures and putting them on a regular schedule for review to make sure that we
Yes.
cover everything within a specific period of time. Very good. Are there any other questions or comments? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Mr. Biederman.
Approved.
Dr. Bertada.
Approved.
Dr. Payne.
Approved.
Dr. Riolo.
Approved.
Dr. White.
Approved.
And Ms. Tribble.
Approved. The motion carries. Back to you.
Thank you. Sorry about that. The next resolution is, there's a skip in the number, so it's 84-2024. The reason for the skip in the number is because during our Finance Committee, we just reviewed the services and I didn't present a resolution for it to be voted. So therefore, it is here now to review the fees, the fines and fees and charges for 2025. Some of the changes in the charges are that there's not going to be discounted for provided multi-room bookings, as well as nonprofit discounts are only offered before or during operating hours, not doing after hours at all, because that is much higher and they have to be charged for security, as well as Central Library meeting rooms are increased, as well as the wedding fees are increased. And the good thing about that, even though the wedding fees are increasing, 2025 is booked up for that whole calendar year, which is great. And then the setup and tear down, there was just a little decrease in that, just to make it more feasible. And the security fees increased, as well as when you renting the meeting rooms. And then the Library Service Center fee was eliminated. Here are some pictures of our meeting rooms and some of the weddings that have been, or, have been done at the library. I think it's so beautiful. Does anyone have any questions in regards to the revisions of the 2025 fees, charges, and fines?
There's a motion to approve. I'm gonna do this, and then we'll do it during discussion. There's a motion to, so this was not approved in committee. So we have Resolution 84, 2024, regarding the fee schedule resolution. Is there a motion to approve?
Approved.
And is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and approved, so is there any discussion? Yes, Dr. Riolo.
You got me in trouble because I was answering you. I just wanted to point out that this looks like an increase, but it's after 10 years of stable fees. So I just wanted to bring it to everyone's attention. This doesn't always go up all the time. This is a long delayed increase.
And it also is consistent with the market as well.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, please call the roll.
Mr. Bieneman.
Approved.
Dr. Matata.
Approved.
Dr. Payne.
Approved.
Dr. Riolo.
Approved.
Dr. White.
Approved.
And Ms. Tribble.
Approved. So the motion carries.
Thank you. Here are some updates, but I believe I had this on at the last board meeting, but because I'm reporting in October, I decided to keep it up here because, the budget was approved in October, as well as we received our bond fund, which was $6.3 million, and on October the 10th. I do have one more thing. I'd like to invite Gwen. She's going to go over the XBE data from January through September, the first 3 quarters.
Welcome, Ms. Simmons.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
So I've been asked to come and share with you our XBE utilization goals for the first 3 quarters of this year. So I'll be sharing January through September, the end of September. But before I do that, I just want to give you a reminder of what our goals actually are. So in 2020, we did adopt the City of Indianapolis minority vendor XBE goals of 27% for competitive spend, which means 27% of our competitive spending will be with minority vendors that are certified with the City of Indianapolis. The next slide shows you the actual report that we submit to the city each month. Is due each month, and what that is, it gives the city the numbers of our previous month, our total spend, and then the total dollars spent with each XBE category, as well as the related percentages that's spent each month. So that's just an example of the reporting. And then the actual numbers that I'd like to share with you. This, again, is January through September. The top portion of this slide is actually the monthly data, so it's each month. The very far right column shows you what we spent as a percentage each month. So as you can see, we were doing very well. In the beginning of the year, we kind of did a little dip because some of our construction projects fell off. But we ended up, so for instance, the end of September, we were at 31.9%. At the bottom portion of this slide is our total year-to-date. The very last line is where we are as of the end of September, and we are at 26.7% of our goal of 27%, so just 0.3% less than our goal. We do have construction projects like the NOR, Pike, and Learning Curve that will have spend that I'm pretty confident will put us back above our goal of 27% by the end of the year. Any questions?
I do have one. Thank you, Ms. Simmons.
Sure.
Our goals are set by the city, and they're based on is it an availability study? What is it called?
The disparity
study. Thank you. Were there, because I know with the last strategic plan, there was some goals that we didn't make, and I wondered if those were related to particular industries or types of vendors that we don't have availability for the types of work that the library contracts for?
That I'm not sure of.
Okay.
I do know that they are currently doing a disparity
They're
study
doing it
right now.
this time.
And this time, each organization will receive their separate disparity study. Last year, we just got one total one.
Right.
But this year, NDPL will receive its own. So then that will give us more information on where we're lacking.
Okay, and because I think the issue was around the collections, right, and minority vendors. So I just wondered if we get our own that's more specific to the library, then if they look at the availability of minority vendors in publishing, then it will be more related to a huge part of our budget, right? It will be relative to the market of businesses in publishing, right?
Well, we don't really have a lot of publishers that are
Exactly.
certified with the city, right?
Right.
And then collections is not part of the competitive spend total.
It is not.
It is not.
Okay.
No.
So that's not,
Mm-mm.
okay. All right. Well, thank you. Are there any other questions? Dr. Murtada?
The disparity study, you're anticipating it coming out when?
It would be the last quarter of 2025. Yeah.
Last quarter. One of the things that we've brought up a couple of times has to deal with disability-owned business
Yes.
and how it continues, it seems to be that at that low amount. Are they investigating that any further? Are there some attempts to look further into that?
Well, that's probably part of the availability issue. There just aren't that many certified disability-owned businesses. I'm not quite sure what the disparity study will reveal. However, they're just not as common as the others of the women, minority, and veterans.
As always, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, thank you for that update. Appreciate it. And thank you for your work in this area.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Campbell. We'll move on to the Diversity Policy and Human Resources Committee, which is chaired by Mr. Raymond Biederman. And the members are Dr. Palacio and Dr. Payne. Good evening, Ms. Galarza.
Good evening.
So we've got two resolutions for today, both very exciting resolutions. I unfortunately was not at the actual committee meeting, so I thank Drs. Payne and Palacio for taking over and leading that for us. And I believe that both received a due pass recommendation, so we're excited to hear about them.
There you go. All right, the first one is Resolution 78-2024. It is the yearly resolution for the appointment list. This year, we did something different. Instead of doing the 2 to 3% for across the board, we actually look at the pay grades and what we needed to work on. So for pay grade 1 to 6, we wanted to work on compensation and compression. And then for pay grades 7 to 19, we wanted to look at the market rate. So that brought us to pay grade 1. For those that didn't receive an increase in November, that we brought the new minimum, is going to receive a 50 cents differential. And then for pay grade 2 to 6, for whoever didn't came back to the November for the new minimum, it will receive $1.20, which will help with the compression within those pay grades. And then for pay grades 7 to 19, we wanted to work on the market rate, so we were going to do $1.20 for those that qualify for the increase. And that's all. The full list is in your resolution and the package.
So Resolution 78, 2024, regarding the approval of appointment list.
Yes.
Okay. Received a positive recommendation from the Diversity Policy and Human Resources Committee. So the chair would request a second.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Mr. Biederman.
Approved.
Dr. Matata.
Approved?
Dr. Payne.
Approved.
Dr. Riolo.
Approved.
Dr. White.
Approved.
And Ms. Tribble.
Approved. The motion carries.
All right, so the next resolution is 79-2024, which is the approval of the resolution for adopting the scheduled pay grades, staff positions, and benefits for the library. No changes. This is, again, a yearly resolution, except we want to change our wellness program. So our wellness program is to bring more awareness, overall health for our staff. The program right now is based on points for activities related to physical, mental, social, and financial well-being. The program currently offers a discount premium for those that have insurance. We currently only have 298 staff members who participate in our health insurance. So now we want to suggest it to open it up for all as full-time staff to be around 400 staff members who are going to now be able to participate in the program instead of those 298 staff members that are enrolled in our benefits. So the incentive that we want to do is a cash incentive based on the points that they earn. So the bronze level, which is 200 to 399 points, is receive $100. For those that are silver, that completed 400 to 599 points will receive 200, and 600 and above will be a gold, and they will receive $300. So a staff member need to be active whenever we do the cash incentive, and the program will run from November to the first week of December, doing the pay on the last paycheck of December of each year. And that will be the only change on that resolution.
So Resolution 79, adopting a schedule of pay, grades, staff positions, and benefits for library employees, was recommended by the Diversity Policy and HR Committee. So the chair would request a second.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Mr. Biederman.
Approved.
Dr. Matata.
Approved.
Dr. Payne.
Approved.
Dr. Riolo.
Approved.
Dr. White.
Approved.
And Ms. Tribble.
Approved, the motion carries. Any further?
That is all for DPHR.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Galarza, and thank you, Mr. Biederman.
Can I make one comment?
Yes, Doctor.
Just want to thank the committee for advancing the idea that more of the wellness programs would be improved, and that we increase that opportunity through points. I think that's a very wise move. Just recently, I was reading an article in the publication that we get, the public libraries, and they're talking about advancing health literacy for Spanish-speaking communities as well. And so we model a great deal of the behaviors for our community. So this is a great opportunity to actually say health literacy is important in wellness. So thank you to the community.
Absolutely.
You're welcome.
Thank you. We'll move on to the Facilities Committee report. The Facilities Committee is chaired by Dr. Eugene White, and its members are Dr. Carla Murtada and Dr. Lisa Riolo. Dr. White?
Yes, I'm going to ask Adam to come forward. Before I turn it over to Adam, I would like to make the motion that we withdraw Resolution 72, 2024 from consideration.
Okay. I have that a little later in the agenda, but we will do that. Resolution
72, 2024.
72, 2024 has been, the chair has made a motion to withdraw that resolution, and so I just need a second.
Second.
And is there any discussion? Dr. White, do you want to explain why, or?
Well, I think the board spent considerable time at the last meeting discussing this particular area. So unless someone has a particular question from that, I have nothing else to add.
I can add that
Yes,
will
please.
come back. The reason for the withdrawal is that we've determined it was inappropriate to have an amendment to the construction manager agreement, and instead it needed to go through the full RFP process for selecting a construction manager. So it was untimely to do that with this resolution, but it will be coming back probably January or February, I would assume, from a timing perspective, and that will be back before the board at that time.
And just to remind everyone here, Resolution 72 was about the approval for amendment of the construction agreement related to safety and acoustic improvements at Fort Bend. So we'll hear more from the Facilities Committee once they have made the alternate arrangements for handling those. Okay. Did we call the roll? Okay, Ms. Gilbert, please call the roll on withdrawal of Resolution 72, 2024.
Mr. Peterman.
Approved.
Dr. Matata.
Approved.
Dr. Payne.
Approved.
Dr. Riolo.
Approved.
Dr. White.
Approved.
And Ms. Tribble.
Approved, the motion carries.
We have 3 resolutions for board action this evening. Resolution 70, I'll turn it over to Adam for any comments, questions that we might have. Adam?
All right. First resolution is Resolution 70-2024, approval to award a construction services contract for the Library Services Center Conference Room number 221 renovation project. So, Conference Room 221 was determined to be in need of renovation prior to the overall LSC update and renovation. Primary updates include enhanced audiovisual, lighting, furniture, walls, but really the focus is on communication within the room, and then also using AV and internet technology to communicate outside of the room.
The Facilities Committee recommended a due pass for this particular resolution.
So this was estimated to be greater than $150,000, so we used the invitation to bid process. Public notice was sent out 2 weeks in mid-July, was sent directly to 33 vendors and organizations, 13 of which were XBE companies. The invitation to bid was posted on the NDPL website, and the documents were available at Reprographics. We had a pre-bid conference and site tour on July 24th with 7 vendors. Again, using the invitation to bid process, we received 4 bids, requiring us to award to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, and the bidder who fit that was Meyer Nagem. These are the results of the 4 bids. 3 of them were in a very tight spread, which is always nice to see. The 4th was an outlier, just an outlier.
The company that received the bid, I keep seeing no percent, no percent, no percent, no percent.
That's correct.
Troubling? Or should I be troubled by that?
No, we're legally required to award to the lowest responsible and responsive bidder.
Okay, whether or not.
Correct.
So, just a question, responsive does not include some kind of consideration of our utilization goals?
I'll defer to legal on that one.
Thank you.
Yeah, so part of what your process provides is that if someone does not have XBE utilization, that they have a waiver process that has to be submitted and approved. And I believe that my understanding is this resolution was pulled last month because that had not been completed, reviewed, and approved prior to last month's meeting. That's something that Ms. Simmons does on behalf of the organization. They have to use good faith efforts to find vendors to fulfill those goals, and if they submit documentation that's sufficient, a waiver is granted, and they can be then considered to be the lowest responsible and responsive bidder.
I guess my question would be, you made the point that there's a very low, what's it called? This spread, and the other two vendors have utilization within that spread, so.
It's all three categories: lowest, responsible, and responsive.
Okay,
If you're going to make a determination that someone doesn't meet one of those categories,
okay.
then that would be a reason to disqualify them. There's nothing indicating that the lowest bidder is not responsible and responsive. So they have to meet all three categories. The other two do not meet the category of being lowest bidder.
So my question earlier was, does responsive not somehow address our utilization
We're
goals?
responsive to your process by submitting a waiver that's responsive to your process.
Okay.
That meets that objective.
The waiver doesn't have to be granted, does it?
I'll defer to Ms. Simmons
I
on
mean,
that.
but generally, sure, yes, I'd love to hear from you, but I am interested to know, I mean, a waiver, a waiver they can't just fill it out and it's not automatic, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
And that is the reason why it was pulled last month, because they submitted the waiver without submitting their good faith effort documentation. So I had to review that. So between last month and this month, they've submitted proof to me that they did reach out to a sufficient number of XBE vendors to solicit quotes for their proposal. Some with no response, some that did respond, but they did make the effort, and it was sufficient for me to approve it.
So I'm just wondering, and then I will stop here, but I am wondering if the other two vendors within the same range have 7 and 6.4 utilization in their bids. The idea that they reached out and were not able to locate, so this kind of gets back to my question earlier, are there vendors? Are we saying that there are no vendors to provide the services that would meet the needs for this contract? But I think the fact that two of the other vendors have proposed utilization would negate that.
Those two other vendors are XBE vendors. So
Okay.
they are I'll step on someone's toes here. I assume they're self-performing that. So a competitor is not going to come in and do work for me necessarily as a sub on this deal in order to get that utilization. So those two vendors appear to be self-performing at least a portion of that work to accomplish their utilization. I will tell you that your process exists. It has been vetted, and deviation from that process puts you at risk. Puts you at risk.
Puts you at risk for what?
For lawsuits. You have a process that is fair and equitable and has been utilizing the XBE goals. And I will tell you that case law and the status of the courts currently, that is a risk that you run as an organization if you deviate from that process.
Well, I do think it is interesting that every vendor up there has proposed utilization, but I guess that other vendor, but I guess none of those vendors were willing to perform under the utilization, I guess. That's, I guess, so we're saying that the only vendors that could do work under this contract were the other three bidders. I'm just confused about that, but okay.
Well, thank you for questioning that, because it still seems very...
Yeah, they are required to provide their good faith efforts, so that's part of the whole XBE process, right? And providing their good faith efforts is up to me, I guess, to determine if it's sufficient. So I felt that they did reach out to a sufficient number of XBE vendors. And when I say reach out, they had to provide actual proof that they reached out. So they did provide that documentation.
Okay.
And I will say, as a reminder, the other three companies would also require a waiver because we have 4 individual goals, and none of the companies met all 4 of the goals.
Right.
3 of them met some, but those other 3 would also require a waiver. 2 of them for 3 waivers, and 1 company for 2 waivers.
Sure.
And so, I think I'm about ready to step on toes. To Mr. Brown's. With responsive, that is, they have submitted documentation to either meet our XBE goals or satisfy purchasing's requirement for the waiver. All 4 companies did that, so they're basically a tie. Responsible, all 4 are historically satisfactory construction companies. All 4 are tied. That leaves the third and final of money lowest. Meyer Najam was the winner on that third and only non-tied category.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Okay. Resolution 70, 2024, approval to award a construction services contract for the Library Service Center Conference Room 221. Received a positive recommendation from the Facilities Committee, so the chair would request a second to such recommendation.
Second.
The resolution has been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
I think it would be useful to have a review of the process and what the waivers look like and the like at an upcoming meeting. I think that will help inform us where we are and where we want to go and all of that. I think that would be very instructive and, keep us in the bounds of the law and what we can do to make sure that we are respecting our values with regard to this, in addition to following a vetted process.
As facility chair of the committee, we did that last year.
Yeah.
Went through that. So we might need some direction from the board in terms of what else must we incorporate. Yeah, that would be good.
And I guess my question here is if Mayor, what's that, Meyer Najam, if their bid was 134 and BCMI was 132, then BCMI would have won the bid.
That's correct, because they would have been in the lead in the final third category of price.
Okay.
And I will say, as a bit of history, we've had this conversation with I've had this conversation with a different makeup of the board 2+ years ago when Mr. Hill, when he was on the board, posed the same question. There was a $150,000 carpeting project that was decided by less than $500, and it was XBE versus non-XBE, and we awarded to the lowest bidder as they both met the other 2 categories equitably. Curtis Hill.
Curtis, okay. Okay.
Bixby.
Bixby, sorry.
Yeah, I was like, okay.
I'm sorry, I used to work for the Attorney General.
Curtis Hill, okay.
And I was there when Mr. Hill was elected. Thank you.
Welcome back.
Okay.
Well, I had the conversation. Mr. Bixby, thank you, brought it up, and it was a very, very similar situation. And he asked the question of if we could spend more money to hire an XBE, and the result was the same, that we have to follow the Indiana code on this.
This was the same problem that we raised a number of times, and Adam is hitting it right on the head. We've brought it up. There has to be, just as you said, Ray, a way of us addressing and talking about this, because if we're talking about the lowest responsive and responsible, and it still makes a $2,000 difference, that it doesn't make any sense, or a $500 difference. We've got to make some differences in our policies and our procedures so that we don't have to face a legal count on this.
I seem to recall at the city that each of the categories were weighted, and even if they received a waiver for XBE, they still didn't get those points. Is that different? Is that because that was services and not construction? Okay, got it.
Yes, this is the
Okay.
invitation to bid process, which
Yep.
follows a different code than purchasing code, where you can weight XBE utilization in an overall rubric.
All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll, Ms.
Mr. Wiedemann.
Approve.
Dr. Murtada.
Approve?
Dr. Payne.
No.
Dr. Riolo.
Approve.
And Dr. White.
Approve.
And Ms. Tribble.
Approved. The motion carries. So we're on to,
Resolution 80, 2024.
that's the one we just
We were
dismissed.
withdrawn 72.
Okay, Resolution 80-2024, approval to award a fixtures, furniture, and equipment purchase order for the Central Library Learning Curve 2 East renovation project. This will have one slight amendment. I apologize for the last minute. It's source of funding. It's a little bit of a background. The learning curve and the, actually it's beyond the learning curve now, but floors 2 and 3 are under construction right at the moment at Central. Phase 1 is second floor east side. That's nearing completion. We estimate the FF&E fixtures, furniture, and equipment, if we were to issue the purchase order tomorrow upon approval, to arrive in January, which is approximately near the end date of Q1 for 2 East to open. This will be a soft open as we move into Phase 2, which is 3 West. So we use the invitation to quote process under the Public Works Code. We sent the invitation to quote directly to 24 vendors, 5 of whom were XBE companies, and we posted the invitation to quote on the NDPL website, both on October 18th. We received 5 quotes, again, awarding to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder. This is an invitation to quote. Similar to the invitation to bid, a little less, what's the word I'm looking for? Some fewer requirements than the invitation to bid, but follows basically the same structure. The winning company is Office Works. They are an MBE, and they will perform 100% of the work. We are purchasing 100% of the product from them. The awarded cost is below the project estimate, and this is the amendment. The project will be funded via the Curve loose furniture line item in Bond 489 in the BAR, and I believe the resolution, it says Bond 487. So the loose furniture is, 487 is the overall construction bond fund. We have a separate line item and a separate bond for loose furniture, so that needs to be changed to 489.
I don't see it in the,
Here.
I don't see it in the resolution. I just see it in the board action.
Just in the BAR, okay.
So the resolution's correct.
Okay.
Okay, then no amendment, I guess. So 100% MBE. That is incorrect. That should be 100%. I reused a slide. That's 100% of the work. The table is correct. And this is as through September from purchasing. Facilities, operational services as a department is at a 30.52% XBE spend. So again, scheduled to arrive in January, 2 East, scheduled to open Q1 next year.
So Resolution 80, 2024.
Received the due pads from the committee.
Okay. This is regarding approval of fixtures, furniture, and equipment contract for the furniture at Central Library Curve Renovation 2 East project. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and recommended and seconded. Is there any discussion? Please call the roll, Ms. Gilbert.
Mr. Peterman.
Approved.
Dr. Batata.
Approved.
Dr. Palacio. Oh, sorry, Dr. Payne. Dr. Payne.
Oh, approved.
Dr. Riolo.
Approved.
Dr. White.
Approved.
And Ms. Tribble.
Approved. The motion carries. We're on to
Resolution 81, 2024.
This is approval of the second amended and restated agreement between the Indianapolis-Marion County Public Library and the Children's Museum of Indianapolis, Inc. So, as we've already been told, this agreement was originally enacted in 2010 upon moving into the new space. We've had 6 subsequent extensions, and it's been a successful relationship. The library and the Children's Museum would like to extend that. The library would pay the Children's Museum an annual occupancy fee of $17,500. Staff costs, salaries, benefits, and the such are already approved for the 25 budget and expected and are anticipated in the 26 budget. This is not a rental. This is not a lease. And the updated agreement streamlines the overall operations for both entities. Again, streamline, more closely track, and then also incorporates changes for holiday schedules, so the InfoZone holiday schedule will more closely track the NDPL holiday schedule.
So what does that mean, the holiday schedule? So what does that mean in terms of how many days the museum is open and the library is not?
Can I defer to John? He
Yes.
was the lead negotiator on it.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
So the amended agreement proposes that the InfoZone be have the holiday closure schedule of NDPL, with the exception of the Juneteenth holiday, which the museum asked us to preserve as a day of service. So we are proposing that InfoZone stay open on Juneteenth, but apart from that, be closed the rest of the NDPL holidays, as you know, we're an NDPL location with NDPL staff.
So which days are we going to be closed now that we were open before?
I would have to go back and compare them, but there are several, including, for example, Martin Luther King Day. Is Stacy still here? Do you have a list? Can you remember them off the top of your head?
I can.
Okay.
Martin Luther King Day, Memorial Day, Labor Day, New Year's Eve, thank you, or New Year's Day, sorry, New Year's Day.
Yeah. So there are several.
Yeah.
Are those are the ones? Those 4?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Okay.
So you're proposing that they be closed on MLK Day?
Correct, just like the rest of the library system.
Oh.
I guess I've had conversations with Greg, but I just want to say this publicly. I think one of the things about this library, and I know Greg talked about Stacy having sort of a sense of pride that this is a major venue in the city, and that there was an exception, and that every time people come into the Children's Museum, the library is open to them too. And I do understand that it is different than the rest of the library, and I do understand that the space is different. And I just would say I'm disappointed, but I understand both sides of it. I think, we have visitors coming from around the world and around the country, and this is an opportunity to show our asset here on the national stage. So, any other comments? Hearing none, we'll call the roll, please.
Mr. Peterman.
Did we sort of see?
No, we need a second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll second.
Okay, I thought we seconded, so we're on discussion.
And I'll approve.
Okay.
And Dr. Matata.
Approved.
Dr. Payne.
Approved.
Dr. Riolo.
Approved.
Dr. White.
Approved.
And Ms. Tribble.
No. The motion carries. Thank you. Does that conclude facilities? Yes, thank you, Dr. White. We'll move on to the foundation report. Mr. Biederman.
The foundation is pleased to announce Bethany Watson as the new Vice President of Development. She most recently served as Director of Corporate and Foundation Relations at Gleaner Food Bank of Indiana. Also, another announcement, the foundation announces new directors of Michaela Graham, Robin Reagan, Catherine Strader, and Zach Willis. The foundation board approved its 2025 budget, which included $2.1 million for the library. The foundation also gave 4 recipients the Lillian Childress Hall Scholarship, which is one that was created within the last 2 years with a lot of work from the board. So very thankful for that and the committee that made that happen. Let's see. There was a staff day as well. The foundation announced the West Region arm Naomi Konja as recipient of the 2024 Beth Tyndall Award for Extraordinary Service. And we congratulate Stephen Bridge on receiving the 2024 Helen Norris Award. Donors, there were 218 donors last month, which include Blue & Company, Eli Lilly & Company Foundation, Sapient Capital. So let's thank all of them and thank all of our award winners.
Great.
That concludes the report.
Thank you, Mr. Biederman. We'll move on to the CEO report. Mr. Hill.
Thank you. Good evening, Board President, Board of Trustees. Before you is the monthly confirmatory resolution 82-2024 related to financial, travel, and personal matters that occurs between each board meeting. The resolution is in its typical format, and if you do not have any questions, I would ask for your approval of resolution 82-2024.
Is there a motion to approve 82-2024 regarding finances, personnel, and travel?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
The motion, the resolution's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Please call the roll, Ms. Gilbert.
Mr. Biederman.
Approved.
Dr. Matata.
Approved.
Dr. Payne.
Approved.
Dr. Riolo.
Approved.
Dr. White.
Approved.
And Ms. Tribble.
Approved. The motion carries. Back to you, Mr. Hill.
All right, thank you. So I have my CEO report for November, dated November 25th for the month of October. The report will include selected branch and PDA programming. It will include system-wide program stats, career development program highlight, Star Award winners, library card registration report, staff training opportunities, and upcoming programs. The first one is the juvenile program highlight. Decatur branch, they had outreach for the month. The Blue and Gold Academy, the Excel Center, Stephen Decatur Elementary School, and Lidwood Elementary School for resources, fairs, and they had Parents' Night as well at those locations. The Info Zone, Butler Lab and Heron Prep, the third grade read Earth Upside Down by Corey B. Tabor. They love learning about different perspectives and that seeing things differently is something to be celebrated. The fourth grade class learned about collaborative storytelling through Mad Libs and the game Exquisite Corpse. And also would like to just read a letter that I got through the CEO contacted us about the Info Zone. To whom it may concern, our partnership with the Info Zone has been one of my favorite things about Heron Prep Academy. Having a public library so close to us has been a blessing. Elizabeth Tarr is a gem. She works so hard to connect with our standards and curriculum. She helps us to reach STEM standards. She gathers books for research, and she helps to create such a fun learning environment. I am so thankful for her. We are currently partnering with the Info Zone and Arts for Learning to do a project for Black History Month. Elizabeth is hosting a book tasting for my class, and we hope to bring our finished theater projects to the Info Zone to share with the public. I cannot thank the Info Zone and Elizabeth enough for their hard work and support. Sincerely, Catherine Bryant, second grade teacher. West Perry branch. West Perry partnered with Rosa Parks Elementary School for Literacy Night. Students participated in stations and encouraged them to explore the library and change their library card from a school card to a regular card so they could check out additional material. 158 people attended, and we received many positive comments from students, teachers, and parents. Adult program highlight, Central Library, Books and Rooks. I want to give a shout out to Public Services Librarian Jordan Hunt, who runs the program. He offered chess workshops for beginning players. In the third quarter, Books and Rooks had 136 participants. The Center for Black Literature and Culture, they had a film screening, American Fiction, in partnership with the Black Film Center Archive. A satirical dramedy about a struggling Black author who writes a best-selling novel under a pseudonym. The film humorously explores his journey through the publishing industry and the challenges of being a Black writer. And also, before I move on, I just want to say, I'd like to share that Alexis Hunt, the manager of the CBLC, has been selected as part of the 2025 class of ALA Emerging Leaders. Sponsored by the Asian Pacific American Library Association, APALA, the Leadership Development Program allows library professionals who have worked in the library for less than 5 years from across the country to collaborate on problem-solving work groups, network with peers, and gain insight into ALA structure and serve the profession in a leadership capacity. Alexis also will attend LibLearn 25 and ALA 25 in the upcoming year as part of the program. So if we can give a round of applause to Alexis Hunt, that'd be great. And additionally, Alexis serves on the Indiana University Indianapolis Library Advisory Board. Program development area at they had the Meet an Author, Be an Author, which was a great event. At the event, attendees enjoyed meeting authors, browsing and buying books. They also attended writing workshops and did networking with published writers, aspiring writers, and fans. Programs across the system, starting from the left, top to bottom. We had 574 youth programs, which included teen, school age, and infants, and we had 12,250 participants. That's a 23% increase in programs for the month of October, 32% increase in patron participation from the previous month, and then the average participation was 20 in September and 21 in October. Adult programs, we had 253 adult programs, which includes adults and seniors, and we had 1,970 participants. That was a 16% decrease in programs as compared to the previous month, and then a 47% decrease in participation as compared to the previous month. For September, we had 12 participants in the adult programs, and then an average of 8 participants in October programs. The Career Development Program, I just want to give a quick brief update. This program was started in 2022. The purpose of the Career Development Program is designed to prepare staff for career development and leadership positions within the Indianapolis Public Library, and is the primary method to ensure staff receive the necessary guidance to make informed career decisions based on NDPL policies, programs, and procedures, and everyone's talents and experience. Participants are provided individualized assistance if interested. Participation provides for both current and new staff members the opportunity for optimal development of professional skills. Individuals may self-nominate or be recommended by a branch manager supervisor. Participants will complete the CDP interest form before their meeting. The Career Development Program meets at the Library Services Center in the spring and fall. Staff participants can self-nominate or be recommended by the manager, again, to complete the CDP. I'm going to go ahead and show a brief video of some of our participants.
I was one of the first mentees in the program in 2022. I went in just thinking this would be a good idea to just know more about the NDPL system.
Going into graphic design, I didn't really have a lot of avenues, so being able to do something like this has been an amazing opportunity.
For me, the program has been my gateway to becoming the current manager of the Learning Curve. I have served as interim manager, I have served as manager of multiple branches, and the opportunity to not only be mentored in those positions, but I've also served as a mentor to other people who are serving as managers now.
It really helped my strategy, which was to pick up IT certifications so that I would be ready the next time the library was hiring for IT. So I think what really separates this program from other programs that I've been in is that there's a lot more hands-on and you get to really add some input into what you want out of the program, which was really helpful.
For me, the best part was knowing that the library system leadership cared enough to advance positions, advance people in this library system. I could potentially, in a couple years, be a supervisor or maybe a manager. It was really nice to hear that and see that as a just employee for NDPL.
I would like to make sure that anybody who has the opportunity in the future can be able to do something like this, because for me it's been such an amazing thing, and I just wanted to personally say it is helpful. Thank you.
And then I want to say also the last staff member you saw, the library, the library card that the holiday card, I'm sorry, that you have in front of you was designed by one of the staff members who went through the career development program, Liam Hargrave. So thank you, Liam, for all the work you did on that. It looks really amazing. So again, thank you. So since the program's inception, we've had 88 staff members go through the program. Demand is really high for the program, so we've included three sessions for next year. We'll have a session in February, one in May, and then one in October. Feedback from participants has been overwhelmingly positive, with several survey comments highlighting the program's value in supporting their career development and leadership aspirations. We had 11 pages participate to date, and we had 9 pages participate over the last 2 sessions. Next is our October Star Award winners. Patron Services was Ian Cunningham. Peer Support is Casper Elliott. Community Involvement is Amy Buell. Page Excellent is Vicki Bannon. And Other Duties Assigned is Brianna Barnes from CBLC. A round of applause for our Star Award winners. Real quickly here, we'll talk about card registrations. You see your graph up here. We went through August, September, and October of 23 and 24. Let's see, 23 is your red at the top, 24 is the orange. In the third quarter of 2023, the library issued 15,865 new cards. By contrast, the third quarter of 2024, we saw a significant increase. We had 18,519 new registrations. This represents a 16.8% increase in new card registrations in 2024, or an additional 2,654 registrations compared to the previous year. This growth helps underscore the library's continued success in engaging the community and expanding our access to our resources. Some staff opportunities. The Association of Bookmobile and Outreach Services, ABOS Annual Conference. We had 7 staff members who attended that. I also gave the opening remarks of the conference, and we had a little over 500 people who attended that conference. We also had school and library partnerships. We had 22 staff members who participated in that, and that was about bridging the gap between school and public libraries and how to develop relationships with the schools to better serve the students and the staff. We also had bystander intervention. We had 48 who attended that, and continuing with our psychological safety training, we had 11 staff members who attended that training as well. Some upcoming programs. Sunday, December the 1st, we have Celebrate UU Art Intervention Reception. This celebrates stories of people living with HIV in the modern age of UU, which is undetectable equals untransmittable. This exhibit will be on display from December 1st to December 30th, and the community reception will take place December 1st from 1:30 to 4:30. The next one we have is Nutcracker Suites. Enjoy scenes from the Nutcracker performed by the Indianapolis School of Ballet, and then join the dancers for a mini ballet lesson. Join us at the Central Library Auditorium for this program. Registration is required. The Indy Library Store book sale. Bag Day is open to the public. Patrons can fill a provided bag with as many items as they want for only $8 a bag. So those are some of the upcoming programs. All other programs you can find online with the calendar. And that's the end of my report. Is there any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Hill. Are there any questions for Mr. Hill?
Not a question, but
Dr. Murtada?
just a comment. I'm so pleased to hear about the career development program and having 88 staff go through it. I think that is worthy of a major piece. And the sessions plans for next year. I think that's just laudable. Thank you so very much, and to HR for advancing it.
And real quickly, I just want to say thank you to the Area Resource Managers Group also who helped work on that. So I appreciate all you guys' help. I know it's a lot of work, but keep going. Thank you, Peggy. Peggy Ware is the coordinator, so thank you so much, Peggy.
My apologies. I should have thought about the area resource coordinators. I'm sorry.
Greg, I didn't see anything in your report about having the son and granddaughter of Dr. Martin Luther King here. And I want to thank Mary Barr for arranging the opportunity for me to get a hug from the granddaughter. I wasn't even able to stay for it, but I did get a hug from the, that was amazing, and there was a lot of press on it too, so thank you for that.
Okay, yes, ma'am, I apologize. So normally I just do the previous 30 days. That would have been in my next month's board report, but yes.
I'll thank you again next month.
Any other comments?
Just one more. Stacy, what's happening at the Info Zone? Everyone has applauded it, said enjoy it. You said 25-year anniversary is coming up. Big plans for that? Just a question.
Yes, we do. We have lots of plans. We're planning to celebrate the entire year. So.
Well, making sure that the community, because you serve so many of the communities around here, and just want to make sure that they're involved in that celebration. I know you will. And Kat, and, oh, she's gone.
Oh, she went to go take a...
I was going to say Elizabeth. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
If nothing else, that concludes my CEO report.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. We'll move on to item number 11, unfinished business. We have none. And under new business, Mr. Biederman?
Yes, there is a, I propose taking up a resolution from the DPHR committee. It's a grievance decision, acceptance of recommendation from the DPHR committee. I would need a motion and a second to add it to the agenda.
Get consent from the board to add it to the agenda.
Will the board consent to add this item to the agenda for consideration this evening?
Consent.
Do I have consent?
Consent.
Okay.
All right. So the board's been presented with Resolution 85-2024, which is for acceptance of the recommendation from the DPHR committee concerning a grievance from an employee. I'd ask for a motion and second to accept the recommendation.
So moved.
The motion's been moved and seconded.
Second.
I'm sorry. Okay, the motion has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the roll.
Mr. Biederman?
Approved.
Dr. Matata?
No.
Dr. Payne?
Approved.
Dr. Riolo?
Approved.
Dr. White?
Approved.
And Ms. Tribble?
Approved. The motion carries. Okay, we'll move on. To future agenda items. This time, we hear from board members who would like to suggest any agenda items that are of interest to them for inclusion on next month's agenda. Does anyone have a suggestion for the December 2024 board meeting agenda? Okay, great. We'll keep moving. There are no special meetings. The next regular meeting of the board will be Monday, December 16th, 2024, at the East 38th Street Branch, 5420 East 38th Street at 6:30 p.m. It's a week earlier in December. And having no further business before the board, I will adjourn this meeting and offer a 5-minute recess and ask the board to return at 8:30 for our annual meeting, which should be pretty short. Okay? This meeting is adjourned.